We're joined from Cairo by international relations expert, Mr. Mohamed El-Tamawy. Good evening to you, sir, and welcome to Qnews. Let me start by asking, what's your take on Netanyahu's decision to suspend the entry of aid into Gaza and close all border crossings?
Of course, good evening to everyone who's watching and to you. Of course, this is a clear violation of the international law. It is as clear as day that it is a violation for all the agreements that that we had and to the humanitarian law, and it shows a policy, a systematic policy to punish the civilians in Gaza by starving them and preventing them from reaching the aid and medicine. And so this is not just about the security level as the occupation forces are claiming. It actually reflects a clear path in using siege as as some kind of political leverage. The Rafah crossing from the Palestinian side is a lifeline for the civilians and the only one. And it is the main road to deliver humanitarian aid and to get the wounded out of Gaza to receive medical attention. And so they are basically having a forceful siege on Gaza. They are cutting their air. Basically, we are seeing a repetition of what was happening throughout the past 2 years. The humanitarian scenario in the Gaza Strip is catastrophic on so many levels. They lack food, they lack food, medicine and fuel extremely, and even the medical services are just degenerating, while the international law stand helpless upon this unprecedented aggression. And so I think that their decision, in my opinion, actually the regional mediators and especially Egypt, that Tel Aviv are not planning to ease the aid delivery without having some gains in return. And then also the Palestinians said that the occupation forces are still controlling their daily lives. And then again, we, of course, with everything being said, we see Egypt's role and efforts with dealing with the crisis. They have some diplomatic channels now with Israel to so that they can operate the corridor from the Palestinian side as soon as possible, because Cairo realizes that keeping it closed will only lead to more tensions and suffering and humanitarian catastrophes. And so closing the corridor is actually a crime, while the humanity is watching and standing silent. And this shows that Israel is using the siege as a war weapon that is not less dangerous in any way than direct shelling. You know, they are trying to get to new objectives, while
right. If I may ask you here, sir, now how would that reflect on the hold-up of this ceasefire from one side, and would that lead to the resumption of the war on Gaza?
Of course, I agree with you. It is some kind of a strong indication that Israel is trying to violate the Gaza agreement or manipulate it in some ways, in some civilian ways, either or even political ways. And it raises the fears of the regional mediators, especially Egypt, that is putting in efforts to de-escalate the tension. Israel is trying to hold some military exercises. They are trying to work on the method of continuing its military operations and presence, and even air presence, under the pretexts of trying to eradicate the armed groups. And this is a clear violation of the ceasefire agreement, and then also stalling the delivery of humanitarian aid and having new restrictions on the trucks. This is some kind of political pressure on the resistance. And then they also wanted to they did not comply to releasing the missing bodies of the Palestinians. So there is around 400 bodies, Palestinian bodies, that have not been returned so far. They only have 150 so far, and so this is a violation from their side. And then also they have not. Hamas is also stalling with the Israeli bodies, and so there is some political attempt in Israel to show the agreement as they think of the agreement as a victory for Hamas, and this pushes some leaders in the Netanyahu government to hinder the agreement, to have some kind of internal stance, especially with the elections there in Israel, and also they have this some kind of ideology. It is some kind of true. And from the strategic point of view, of course, Netanyahu's government wants to keep things fragile and unstable, but they are not going back to war. We can say that they don't want to go back just yet, so that they have some kind of leverage that prevents the Palestinians from taking full control and starting the reconstruction or taking control of the strip. And so here we reiterate that Egypt and the international community need to have a strong stance to what's happening. And I think that this will face some kind of American deterrence, especially with Steve Witkoff's visit tomorrow to Tel Aviv and then Cairo, and or so was said. And then the escalation should be the only viable solution here to stop a new humanitarian crisis, especially after the USA, Qatar, Turkey, and Egypt have gave strong guarantees.
All these orders and all these statements made by Netanyahu, how do you see those statements and those orders? Are they a kind of actions to reignite the war in Gaza? What do you think?
Of course, he is trying to repeat the repetition of the Israeli aggression today is a violation of the ceasefire. We have 47 violations since they signed the agreement. This shows that Netanyahu and Israel are dealing with this as if it's just an agreement for now, not as a some kind of long-lasting agreement and humanitarian agreement that to save the Palestinians. We have around 35 Palestinians who were killed and around 145 wounded in a time where we should have de-escalated tensions and a full ceasefire. And this puts the international community in front of a new test to test their to test the trust that we can have in them. And so they also have some kind of political pressure that the occupation is doing. They are trying to impose new reality on the ground, either through weakening the resistance groups or to having security control on the borders. And so Tel Aviv's objective ever since the war has started is very clear, which is they they will not allow a truce, or they don't want clear initiatives to stop the war. And I think that Tel Aviv up till now does not want this agreement to be permanent. They want it was some kind of strategic trick, I think, and this is my opinion, to get back the detainees, and then they are doing everything that we are seeing now. They tried to reassure its people and satisfy the far right leaders in the government, and so they after that they violated the agreements, and they are carrying out their aggressions now.
Right.
But what is even more dangerous now is that they they are making us distrust that there will be any peaceful way, and they are making the families who are waiting for a new Gaza lose hope. And so the
Right.
truce that was supposed to be a chance to reconstruct and get back to life, I think that it has turned into a fragile phase. They're not having peace, and they're not also in war.
And they're not allowing them. Very clear, very clear. From Cairo, that was Mr. Mohamed El-Tamawy, international relations expert. We thank you so much for joining us here on Q News.